Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another review, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the Master Grade Turn A Gundam from the 99 anime of the exact same name. Even to this day, this might just be one of the most, if not the single most unique looking Gundam ever designed. Designed by the legendary Sid Mead, this looks like nothing else, and it is definitely an opinion polarizer when it comes to whether it looks good or whether it looks bad. No matter what your opinions on its looks are, this 2007 kit, which is almost 20 years old, still holds up decently today. Anyway, if you do want one of your own, I got this right here from those awesome people over at Buy, so if you want one of your own, link is down there in the description. But for now, let's get right on into the review. So first up, when it does come to the build of the Master Grade Turn A Gundam, I did do a full video on this, so you can go check that out if you want to know absolutely everything about its build. The basic summary is, it is a little bit on the dated side, but for a 2007 kit, it is feature-packed. The legs have an absolutely ridiculously cool build, which does include those thruster veins that run right up the back of the Turn A's legs. The chest is hollow, housing either missiles or a cow, depending on what you prefer. And even though this is a little bit on the dated side, it still has color separated eyes, and overall the finished product does look good, but it could always do with a little bit of extra effort. So this right here is what this kit does look like, fresh out of box, fully built, nothing else done whatsoever, but I decided to do a little bit more because it did look a little bit on the plain side. If you want it to look like this, it looks good, but it could always do with a little bit of lining, because a lot of the actual detail on this kit is molded into it and not so apparent without some lines. So as for detailing this kit up just a little bit, just to bring out all of the detail, first off I did panline this with GSI Crayo's Poor Style Gundam markers. These are the ones that basically fill the lines in for you. Touch the marker against all the beautiful pinstripe lines on this kit and they will fill in absolutely beautifully. There are tons and tons and tons of these lines all over the place. All over the legs, all over the forearms, the shield, the head, they are everywhere. So if you love panel line your kits, this kit is a panel liner's dream. In order to erase the little dots that you get all over the kit, what I used was the included eraser marker which comes with the panel liner sets. I use this with Dispay's panel line eraser. This works so well. The nice flat tip keeps them crispy and beautiful. Overall, fun to panel line up, and it really does bring out all of the detail pretty much instantly. Now there is a feature about the Turn A that I really like, and that is that little V logo up on its head. Now there is an actual decal included for popping this up there if you want to. For me, I felt that would have been a little bit not so cool, so what I did was I grabbed another Gundam marker, this one being the metallic yellow-green standard Gundam paint marker. I just blob this right onto the zone where this is. You don't even have to be accurate at all, because you can just grab yourself a light sanding stick or one of Gum Primer's balancers and just buff off the paint around the outside, and you've got yourself an absolutely perfect metallic green V up on the forehead. This is what I recommend entirely. So last up in here, I wanted to use some of the decals. These are those rub-on dry transfers, which are usually my favorite style of decal. However, the design of decals in here are completely off the wall. These don't even seem like they're designed for using on the Gundam itself, just for on other stuff. We've got some various logos and a big Turn A Gundam series logo, which I just went, hell, I'll throw it up on the shoulder, why not? I also took one of the larger ones, popped it on the shield, and I don't actually have any footage for this right here because I kind of got a little bit addicted to decaling a little bit. I wanted to add a little bit more flair onto it. A lot of the bare areas like the white and the blue could have done with a little bit more. So I did throw a few various red and white decals on there just to make it look a little bit more detailed and a little bit more finished. Finally, then I did hit this with a matte, flat top coat. Some older kits do have a bit of a shine to them, so this does get rid of that and make them look a lot more premium. So there is that full 360-degree spin of what the Master Grade Turn A Gundam looks like, again with a little bit of lining, a tiny detail painted in, included decals, some not included decals, and a little bit of matte top coat. So overall, it does look very nice. As you can see, all those lines brought out perfectly. The decals giving it a little bit more to look at when it is spinning around, but overall a very nice kit. I actually feel what kind of does this kit a little bit dirty is just how plain the actual original build kit is. Once again, there is what it looked like just out of box. It's a little bit shiny, a little bit flat, all the lines just aren't there to be seen, but yeah. Give it a little bit of time, just like any gunpla, and this will shine. Not literally, I don't want any shines. Matte only. So anyway, properly now jumping on into the aesthetics, and there is the Master Grade Turn A Gundam once it's complete with a little bit of extra effort. So when it does come to the overall look and the silhouette of the Turn A Gundam right here, the Master Grade is absolutely killing it. It looks pretty much perfect, all the details you'd like to see are there, and just in case you're wondering, the reason for the section in the middle of the chest being white as opposed to being blue is this is a part of the optional build. Well, actually it's the only aspect of an optional build inside of this box. You can put the blue part in or the white part in, they're easy to switch out, and basically it just means you can have the Sid Mead design version or the anime version, but overall looking great. So slapping it down with the actual art of the Turn A Gundam, you can see that everything is pretty much perfect. Now I will mention, I have painted nothing out of box besides two things on this. That is that little bit of a V on the head like I mentioned, but I did forget to mention I did paint these two red little dots down here just to keep it color accurate to the actual line art, but otherwise this is pretty much color accurate out of box. I mentioned the white section on the chest, that's just a design alternative part, but the blue is included, otherwise absolutely perfect. Flipping right around to the back then, and as you can see, 100% pretty much identical too. It's kind of funny, I found the art looked a little bit longer than the model kit from the front and a little bit shorter than the model kit from the back, but I guess that's what happens with art. Either way though, absolutely perfect looking. When it comes to the color separation on this kit, just like I mentioned, pretty much everything is color separated besides that little bit of a V on the head and some minor little details here and there like the little red circles on the legs. Besides that, this is pretty much 100% color accurate, and that is even down to the eyes. Now, some people might find a little bit of an issue with this because sometimes the foil stickers tend to shine a little bit better than clear parts, so that is one thing. However, if you do want to LED this up, it's already got those clear parts in there for you. So it depends on what you like. Eyes on this do look phenomenal, especially because they're fully color separated. Seeing some of the grey layering from underneath from the actual grey of the inner frame is something you usually don't see too much on older kits, so this I am very, very impressed by. This does happen in a whole bunch of different places, this little triangle right here, the line running up the side of the leg, and the same goes up on the hand and arm right here. This is incredibly nice. One of, if not the only sticker in here is this little black one right here. This is in a recessed part coming from underneath, so it's something you wouldn't even notice. I'd almost totally forgotten about it because the matte top coat has blended it in perfectly. And finally then, when it does come to the model kit sins, aka the knob marks and the seam lines and the mold lines, the build on this I pretty much straight built before I actually did do all the kind of detailing. I didn't do too much in the lines of cleaning up, but I don't see much at all. Now, there was a big issue with the stand attachment back here I will mention later on, but besides that, nothing really too problematic and a simple, easy to finish off build. Lastly then, here is the included decals, and these are wacky. These are really hard to actually use without them looking a little bit on the funny side. I do like the Turn A head logo right here. The actual anime logo is pretty funny, and we've got this one too. I mean, overall these are almost not usable, I would say, compared to what you'd see with most kits, depending on what you want. What I did is I went with the Turn A one just up here on the shoulder. Again, it does look a little bit on the cheesy side. And this one right here on the shield, which is just kind of some, well, generic looking font text. It does have these 4 little dots around it too, which is pretty cool, but they're an interesting addition, that is for sure. As for a little bit of comparison, there it is side by side with the high grade kit. So there's a lot you can kind of say about both of them. The high grade kit is a nice kit too. It's a little bit floppy. It does have a whole bunch of stickers on it. The veins on the back of the legs look incredibly nice. And by the way, right now you'll be seeing a bit of a spin of them side by side, scaled up. So the master grade we're looking at today will be on the left. The high grade will be on the right. So any kind of footage that I would have done before where they were, never mind, I'm just gonna move them around like this. Anyway, so you can see the two of them side by side at the exact same scale. I can't see this till afterwards, so I can't really comment on it, but there you go, just so you can see, in case you're wondering about the two of them. Now, I will mention, I did paint the V on the top of the high grade as well, just in a non-metallic green. I don't know what I was thinking back then, but otherwise they both look pretty cool, but to me, still, the master grade is definitely winning out ever so slightly when it does come to the looks department, and 100% when it comes to the feel department. So now jumping on into a size comparison, and there it is side by side with the standard RX-78-2 Granddaddy Gundam. As you can see, it's essentially the same size-ish, just a little bit taller. So running through a few more master grades now, there's the Master Grade Narrative Gundam, the Master Grade Zeta Gundam Verka, the Master Grade Outframe D, the Master Grade Sinanju, and not a Master Grade but the 1/100 Full Mechanics Gundam Aerial. So jumping on into the accessories now, and here's absolutely everything that comes with the Master Grade Turn A Gundam. What we get in here is the beam rifle, a pair of beam sabers, the shield, the Gundam Hammer. When it comes to alternate parts, we have a pair of semi-posable hands, the alternate colored chest piece, 2 parts for dealing with the base adapter around back, beam saber handle holding sections, as well as a couple of adapters for attaching around back for holding onto the beam rifle and the shield. Finally, when it comes to pilot figures, we've got a 1/100 scale pilot, which is Lauren, as well as a 1/100 scale cow. So in here we've got 2 pairs of hands, and first off we've got these widespread set posed hands, which are actually pretty cool, considering that what we have as the main pair of hands are a kind of semi-posable pair that really don't look the greatest. These are a nice addition, so the detail on them great, and they do look good in most poses. A standard, almost relaxed pose to them, so they work in pretty much every pose. Nice addition. When it comes to the other pair of hands, what we've got is pretty much those Master Grade 2.0 style hands, where we've got 3 stuck together just like so, a trigger finger and a thumb which is on a ball joint. We also have just a bit of an angled peg in there for attaching stuff onto, as you would assume, just like all of these kits were. And these are those sort of hands that never entirely look all that great in most poses. Anyway, as for swapping them, it's really simple. Just pop off the hand like so. It is worth noting that the ball joint is in the actual arm, and it's a cup that's in the hands. It's a little bit different than usual, but otherwise the same replacement routine here as you'd normally do. Next up in here is the beam sabers. These are fairly, well, I would say they're standard beams, but they're a little bit skinnier than usual, so there are some thin beams in here. The handles are a single piece of plastic, but as you can see, they are molded ever so nicely. Again, the same sort of level of paneling detail as the Turn A itself, so if you hit these with some ink, they will look even better. So when it does come to attaching the beam sabers, it's the usual sort of way with these kind of hands. There's a little bit of a tab in the palm of the hand, a little bit of a hole in the actual beam saber, and you just pop it together. It doesn't feel overly strong. When you bend in the fingers, it doesn't look particularly great, but not the worst. It's at a little bit of a cutting angle, which is always nice to have it angled outwards instead of just the usual dull 90 degrees. And when you're not actually using these, we've got some little adapter sections which attach round back just like so. These are for the beam sabers to slide on into, and to slide on in the beam saber, it's just like this, sliding in from the outside. Holds on good, and it can angle up and down just like so. So the next weapon in here is the Gundam Hammer. So this has a nice loose, awesome chain. This comes like this in the box. You don't actually have to put it together, which is nice and refreshing. This right here is the end with the anchor section. As you can see, you can attach that into the hand, and this is the business end with the ball. So you do have to cut out all of these guys separate to each other, which takes a little bit of time, but overall it looks pretty good and does what it needs to do. So getting the anchor end attached into the hand is the usual kind of way. Again, peg into hole, and it actually surprisingly holds on decently well. Wrap the fingers around, and then I just got it into a little bit of a pose where it's kind of looks like it's about to start swinging the ball end. Now I will mention this is probably the only kind of pose you'll be able to pull off with this, because there isn't any kind of adapter section or anything like that on the actual hammer to attach it onto an action base. So you'd need something a little bit custom, like a cradle, in order to hold it up in a kind of flying through the air kind of pose. So this is about the best you're gonna get. So now, just out of curiosity here, how are these actually attached on? Because if they are attached on via 3 oh, they're not gonna come off. They're so flush, you're not gonna get in there. Never mind, here's the video of it getting put together. I don't think it was 3mm holes these were attached by, but either way, if you want to put this into some kind of stand flying around, you're probably gonna have to get something that just holds up under this end here, so you can have it just flying through the air, a little bit something like that. Also, no place to store it when it's not in use. So the next weapon we have in here is the beam rifle, once again in matching colors to the Gundam itself. It does have this stored mode, which is short. It has a sliding gimmick that could be a little bit better because it just popped right off. Yeah, it's meant to stop there at the end, but it didn't want to for some reason. We have a second sliding section right here, which slides up like so. The handle then slides out from inside just like that. And we do have a secondary handle here, which is meant to do something, not just fall off. This rifle's a bit flimsy. Alright, it's meant to come out about that far, and then you can rotate it into position, but yeah, it's flimsy as hell. But yeah, according to what I'm seeing in the instructions, when it is long, you need to close this up, as well as this little flap. Again, not the most easy to do. And this is the handle that's held while it's in that long mode, but I don't fancy my chances too much with that one, so I'm just going to go with the standard mode, slot that away, take out that handle once again like so. This closes. Nope, apparently stays open when it's in this mode. So again, getting this into the hand is the same as everything so far. You need to get that little slot in the handle into the palm of the hand. It does this okay because you're actually able to swing the handle backwards at an angle, but the shoulder armor and the arm in general kind of clashes with this weapon in that kind of old school gunpla kind of way. This does happen a lot, but it's not that bad overall. There's a little bit of a pose with it holding onto the beam rifle and it pulls it off decently. Overall, pretty okay. So next up in here we've got the shield again, very nicely detailed and colored like the rest of the kit. So we've got the white and grey and red color separation around here. Flipping to this side, we've got a lot of nice detail, those kind of truss rod sections in the back. We do have a moving handle here, and these bits which come in from the sides for when it's being held in the hand. Overall, a nice looking shield. When it comes to attaching this is fairly simple. You hook it around the hand just like so, and then you get the tab section and pop it into the hole in the back of the arm. Now make sure to push this all the way until it almost clicks, otherwise it will keep falling off. But once it is secured, it's secured perfectly. Just like the rest of the equipment we've seen with this kit so far, it kind of clashes with the shoulders and other parts of the actual robot itself, so there is that sort of issue. But once you do get it posed up, it does look extremely nice and matches with the mobile suit so well. So again, doesn't do a whole lot really, but when it is on there in a standard-ish pose, looks very nice. So next up, there's the attachment adapters for the shield and the beam rifle. Now these are some of the most intelligent I have ever seen. You just lift up the shoulder segments just like so, you slot the left hand one in just like so, pop it in, easy. The right hand one in, again slides in easy, and then you can close the shoulders back down over them. So what you get in the end is this, it's almost flush to the design. That is really nice. Even when they're not on, you can't see the holes they attach into. Very nice. As for attaching the equipment onto these, it's super simple. The shield, you just pop it off the arm like so, and you attach the exact same slot that was attached into the forearm into this unit. When it comes to the rifle, again, pop it off, slide in the handle, close that little compartment, and then it just pops on in and is grabbed just like so. These both hold on really well. One minor down point is you can't actually use this back hole right here for attaching it onto the action base when these are attached round back. But if you're having it in a standing pose, you want to keep all the equipment on it while it's just standing there, this looks and works absolutely perfectly. So last up then we do have the base adapter segment. So this is it in the back, which is, I thought I should say, was, well, intelligently designed, but it seems like maybe not so much. So first off, we do have a little blue segment you can plug it up with. So if you want it to be completely encased so you can't see it, you can do that. However, I'm not going to do that because I did have this little section right here, which is the base adapter. This should be two-pronged, not single-pronged. Break inside of there because once I attached it in, it just got stuck. So next up in here is the compartments or the containers inside of the chest. So just like it would have shown during the build, you're able to move all these little flaps around back. I'm not going to do it right now because I don't want to scratch the top coat, but around front you can open all these segments here. The middle two are very inclined to just pop off because of the design. I'll also mention there is a little bit of a mechanism where you can push in from the back to make this all pop out, but again, my base adapter did break inside. Once they're all opened, it looks a little bit something like this. These are removable too. You're actually able to take off some of the parts and use the container for storing the cow like it shows right here in the instructions. And just for a little bit more of a kind of fluid way of seeing what this looks like opening and closing, I'm just going to play this in reverse of me closing it so you can kind of see what it would look like opening up if it did have a little bit of a simpler, non-funky mechanism to it. Again, right out of the box, probably fine, but my base adapter broke and now it's time to test it. So yeah, all of that stuff did work out the first time fine when I was actually just playing around with this kit, but this just got jammed inside and would not come out, which is good if I wanted to stay up on it, but you know. Anyway, it still fits in, still does what it needs. May not be as secure as it used to be, but it does the job fine. Here's what the kit does look like up on a stand. It holds onto it very well, maybe a little too well. It is nice to have it attaching from the back so it's out of the way of the legs and stuff, especially when you're pulling off some nice poses. I use this with a standard action base. I'm not sure if it's a 2 or 3. Wait, no, I think it's the kind of special type that does come with some kits and some kits only, but this should work with any large Bandai action base. Alright, so finally moving on to the articulation and the usual comment on the build of this. So when I built it first, it was rock solid, but it is starting to gain a little bit of a wiggle, especially in the hips. It's starting to kind of slide like so when it is just standing up. So it's not as solid as it was when it was first built. So overall, it's okay, not phenomenal when it does come to the out-of-box solidity of the build. So on to the usual pose, and when it comes to actually getting this into the pose, it's not too bad. The overall posability on the turn A is pretty okay. The joints all move very smoothly, and there's very little, well, issues with doing it. Nothing's fallen off per se. It seems like the top coat has stuck the back of the knees on where they used to fall off, so that is handy, and everything has a decent, nice range of motion. A little bit limited, but not 2007 limited. This is extremely, extremely impressive. The only thing I feel a little bit let down by is the kind of in and out pivot of the ankles. I wish I could get this foot right here on the ground, but that is it. Otherwise, I'm pretty happy with how this poses. Nothing over the top, nothing too crazy. It does this pose really, really well as you would want it to, so it does. And overall, pretty cool. Alright, so just going through all of the articulation pretty quickly. There's the head all the way up, all the way down, a little bit loose. There's side to side, and there is the side to side looking. When it comes to the ab crunch, there it is all the way back, all the way forward. There's a little bit of a side to side tilt in there too, and we do have the full rotation all the way around. The shoulders on here are interesting because they are actually locked into the back up here in an unusual kind of way. So that means they don't actually move up and down or anything like that. They only kind of rotate forward and back to get out of the way. So that does overall limit the movement of the arm. So there's all the way up, all the way to the back there. There's the arm raised up as high as it will go. And there's a little bit of rotation in here as well, at this little bit of a joint right here. The elbow bend here is simple. It's just a 1-point bend like that and like that. It does have a very unique build to it. Like we saw in the actual build, it looked a little bit like that on the inside. So it does have a funny little look at the side when you do bend it. The wrist here has this nice additional bit of movement, which is always good. These hands are semi-fully posable, they're not great looking, and we've got the standard hands in here too, and there is rotation and flexion extension at those wrists. The cockpit right here is an actual cockpit. This does pop off and it can transform somewhat into the equivalent of its core fighter. The side skirts here are on ball joints, so up and down, forward and back. No butt flap at all back here. When it comes to the kicks, there's the kick all the way up to the front, so not bad. There it is all the way out to the back, so very, very good. And as for the splits, this can pull them off with no issue whatsoever. We do have a nice bend at the knee in here, so it bends at 2 points like so. I do find a little bit of issue sometimes with some parts because there is a mechanism that makes the blades move ever so slightly when this is bending. So there are some mechanisms in there. So that does mean the knee sometimes pops, this sometimes pops, and I had this whole section of these veins here pop out entirely at one point. So there are some minor little issues to it, but they don't happen all of the time. But it is worth paying attention to. Down at the ankle then, we've got some forward and back. This is very nice because we have this extra little bit right here, which does move those blade-like veins in there, which is cool. The toe can move down like so, so you can get that nice turn A leg profile, and overall it just bends really cool down here. The legs on this kit are one of the most cool aspects and kind of funny aspects at the same time. But overall there is that full test pose. It does very, very well, and overall it's a nice kit and poses nicely. Nothing too crazy, but it'll get the poses that you want most of the time. So anyway, that right there is it for the review of the Master Grade Turn A Gundam, and this is X Silver Tier, so a fairly decent Master Grade, and one that's a lot better than I would have expected from a 2007 kit. Now, when I think about it, and I'm like, there's a lot of kits out there that need a 2.0, this isn't necessarily one that I feel is that way. It's not like the Master Grade XA at all. It's still hands down a very decent kit in a lot of regards. Aesthetically, this got the 3 out of 5, so this is gold tier when it comes to aesthetics. It is absolutely beautiful. A little bit of panel lining and a touch of color here and there, and you've got yourself a perfect replica of the Turn A Gundam. It's pretty fantastic just out of box. Again, the only colors I had to pop onto it is a little bit of red and a little bit of green, but besides that, it looks exactly like it needs to do. They nailed the looks of this thing. When it comes to the articulation, this is pretty good too. It is starting to loosen up a little bit, which is, well, it doesn't come into articulation for me, that's part of the build. But besides that, the range of motion at most of the joints is fairly nice. You'll get most of the poses that you do want, and it looks great in pretty much all of them, especially some iconic Turn A Gundam poses. So yeah, articulation, pretty damn good too. However, it only got 2 out of 5 when it does come to the accessories in here, even though the accessories themselves in a kind of vacuum are very nice. The shield is very nice, the rifle is pretty cool, the hammer is basic enough, and you do get a lot of stuff in here. And the way the adapters attach around back is novel and works out really well. What's not cool is the way the hands interact with the weapons. It is that old peg kind of palm situation, which isn't that great. On top of that, when the weapons are attached, they do kind of limit the articulation and get kind of caught up and clash with everything. When they're attached on just for the display, they look good, but if you want to get this into some cool poses and make it look awesome with its weapons, that isn't necessarily gonna happen. It might sometimes though. Lastly then, when it does come to the build of this, it does feel somewhat dated build-wise, especially the finished kit, the way it kind of starts to get a little bit loose when you pose it a little bit. This is one of those kits that I do recommend building, popping in a pose and leaving it at that. It's not one that's going to stand up to a lot of posing. The actual build itself is fun enough. The legs are incredible, the torso's unique, but besides that, a lot of it is forgettable. The color separated eyes, awesome, but again, a little bit on the forgettable side, and a little bit old school when it does come to the build. So X Silver Tier, a very nice kit for display, even for displaying in some poses, but not really something you're going to get a lot of play or dynamic, crazy over-the-top poses out of. So if that's what you're looking for, that is what you're going to get. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I got mine right here from those awesome people over at Bai, link down there in the description. Make sure to come back for more Gunpla reviews, and I will see you next time. It wouldn't be the end of the video without special thanks to each and every single one of you guys for watching my videos, and special thanks to the channel members and the members over on Patreon, including Caleb, Engelhardt, Joe, RG59061, Scotty Thomas, Simon, and Van Fawn.